coming back to the elf drawing, I'm gonna come in and give it some inks. I'm gonna ink this rascal. Make a new layer. Call this layer inks, or sometimes call it line art. Apologize, I got a little bit of a cough, something going on here. I want to increase it just a little so I can get up close on some of this and work with more detail. Be a little more careful. Our line art was or our blue line was really loose and wasn't trying to get everything right. Not going to try to get everything perfect here either, but I am going to use some tools to help me out, and one of those is going to be the curve tool. You'll see me use it a couple of times probably. This is just a way to go in and shortcut some of the details like eyes and such as that. Like, I don't want to sit here and painstakingly ink all of it. And even with the I'm gonna undo that. Even with this pen tool, you can have a correction. I've got it set fairly low. Let's see what happens when I set up a little higher. It's kind of straightens your line for you a little bit. You know, pull some of those little imperfections of. I don't always draw slowly, but there's times for that, and line correction just kind of takes some of the jitter out of it. And you'll notice too, I'm not trying to get right on top of the blue line. I'm you know, that's a guide. It's a guide. It's another tool, and the end product's going to look a little different than the original. Hopefully better, but what we're going for, as I said, is the feel of the original. You don't want to lose all the energy, which can happen sometimes when you're working on a finished product. See, some of this, like I said, I'm going to be a little off of the blue original art, but still I want to get the gist of it. And in this version of it, I guess I can call it the line art version, I'm going to be bringing in details that you really don't see in the blue. Things that aren't really there in my original. And every now and then, it's probably a good idea to come in here and just see what your line art by itself is looking like, if it's where you want it to be. That's looking pretty good to me, so I'm happy with that. For example, the ear, I'm going to take time to define some of the anatomy of the ear that isn't really in the original artwork. See what I'm looking like there. Oh yeah, like that. And this is, like I said before, Manga Studio, and some of its tools. This is the EX4 version. Some of its tools are really useful, but you do want to be careful that you don't, just like that curved line, you don't want to get too obvious with it, too far off track of what you're doing with your pen here, because otherwise it'll you know, it'll look kind of incongruent with the rest of the drawing. And one thing I did want to capture here with his mouth was the slight smile he's got going on here. There we go. Check it out. Yeah. And some of this too, like I said, some of this blue over here, I'm not even gonna draw on top of that. I'm just leaving it uncovered because I think it looks better if I tighten it up a little bit. Now here's something about that's not quite right. In here, get my eraser. Okay, and eyes. I enjoy drawing eyes. When you're drawing on the far side of the face, the shape is a little different. You've got to imagine that angle or perspective there. It's moving away from you. Come over here and some eyelashes on this eye now. Another thing you can do instead of using the eraser, come down there and get a transparency. And I'm basically just drawing on top of my black line with a transparent line, and it does the same thing, except I'm able to be a lot more precise with it. I really think that's a cool trick. Don't remember who I saw doing that. And I've got some overlap here. I'm not really crazy about. Okay, liking that much more. Yeah, and I've got even little dimples and dots on his face. So, he doesn't have a mole here or there, or a scar, or and we may come back and we may color that later, and it won't be a black dot at that point, or it may be, but that's kind of tells me where it was. Keeping up with it. Now that first line, no, not crazy about it. I want to stay with the curve there. Don't have to be perfect, but that helps give the hair, its shape. I want to keep that consistent. Look at this guy again. Yeah, line art's starting to come along. You know, and this is a process. There's ways to speed up or slow down and really take your time. The more detailed your line work, generally, the less rendering you have to do with the color to really make it look good. I'm not sure how much I'll render this guy, but right now I'm going for a kind of some really good sharp line work here. And I may move out a little bit. There we go. Just depending on what you're going for. You can also tilt this rascal. Make some of those lines a little easier to put down. Manga Studio is really it's really a great program. I don't have the version 5 yet, and it's because my version of Windows is still 7. Haven't moved into 8 or 8.1 territory yet. I'm sure at some point I'll be forced to go that route, but I'm really, yeah, I'm never the first to jump on the latest and move with technology. And I hate the fact that EX4 doesn't, from everything I've seen and read, isn't compatible with the newer versions of Windows. That kind of bums me out because I hate buying new software every time a new operating system comes out. It's like the software I'm using to video this session is Pinnacle Studio, and it's I think it's version 17, but I'm just using the screen capture of that. And I want to tilt it back. We'll just do it this way. There we go. And I'm almost complete with the line art, or what I'm going to do with it here. Try it again. Okay. Break that up. And you don't want to, for the hairline, you don't want to have just a straight line across anywhere. Get back on black. I'm trying to make black lines with a transparency, and that's never gonna work. And you can use this, you notice I've completely turned off the blue layer now. I'm not even referencing it because I've got what I needed from it, and now I'm just coming in here and enhancing my line art here and there. And one thing to keep in mind when you're doing stuff like this, make sure when you're working over here in the layers that you are on the layer that you want to be on, because I've done work before, and I'm drawing away on a layer and it's looking good, and I'm thinking that I'm just inking on top of all this, but I'm actually on that layer, and I'm sitting there and I'm doing this, and I'm like, oh, that looks good. That's good, yeah, yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, now I can just go back and get rid of that original art layer, and and come to find out, oh no, part of my inks were on there. No, stay on the right layer. It'll help you out. Just little things I've learned from making mistakes. And right here, at this point, you really have to decide um, how much ink do I want to lay down? How heavy do I want to be with that? Because at some point you're going to start rendering or coloring. You're going to flat it. You're going to get your colors down there and you start rendering that. And at that point you can indicate some of the shading. You can use your color for that. But if you really want to, and there's nothing to say you can't come back to the inks, to the line art, and do some adjusting later on, some additions there. That's the wonderful thing about layers. They give you a lot of freedom as far as I can come back and really do a lot of adjusting and tweaking. Make it like you want it. What did we do before computers? Say that all the time. I was alive before the internet existed. I remember growing up without it, without a computer in the house. But man, this makes things so much easier. I love it. Okay. And some people look at it as cheating, and if I could give anybody some art advice about cheating, I'd say don't worry about it. The old masters cheated. Don't think they didn't trace stuff or set up pinhole boxes to work on portraits and project an image onto a canvas and trace it, that sort of thing. Even some of the great comic book artists, read somewhere John Buscema said of Jack Kirby that he swiped him cold, meaning he, in his earlier part of his career, would take Kirby's drawings and trace over them. That's actually not a bad way to get better and to learn. When I was a kid, before I could read, I was getting comic books and using them to learn to draw. I would trace them, sit down and copy them. I learned how to draw from John Buscema, Jack Kirby, Joe Kubert. Those guys are great. So don't worry about cheating. Cheat. It's just another tool. That's how I look at it. Because, it's going to make your job easier. Use it. Okay, I'm getting a little carried away here. I think you get the idea. And I'm just about done with the inks on this rascal. And, turned out really good. I like it. Next thing we're gonna do is color this thing, but not today. Not right now. That's enough. That's enough of a whatever you want to call this tutorial or watching me draw. That's really what you're doing, listening to me ramble. Okay. Thanks for your time. I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.